And I guess I'm gonna go to full screen. Here we go. Well, welcome. We're gonna do Introduction to Google Docs. And even though you think you might know Google Docs or you've used them before, you know, you always like miss something, you know, especially if you just kind of figured it out yourself. And you know me, I can't help myself from showing you cool things. So Intro to Google Docs is Alice's idea of what Intro to Google Docs is. So I feel confident there'll be at least one thing that you don't know, that you have to help me on it. Plus, I like to rant about things. So the first thing I've got here is I have this Google form for you to fill out. Just say hello and introduce yourself and just tell me how good are you at Google Docs. So if you're a premium member, that's alicekeeler.com/membership. If you have signed up to be a premium member, I have this template for you where your students can fill out a Google form and then their responses become part of your slides, which I just really like to do when I'm doing even face-to-face. It's very fun. So,
okay, it says introduce yourself, hello, and then this says link to Google form, but it doesn't work.
The link, it does, because I just clicked on it. Are you guys, is it working? Because they make a little pop down.
Oh, there it is. Sorry, duh.
Okay. I should probably just give it to you in not edit view, but yes, when you're in edit view, it's like, do you want to go to the link or do you want to edit the link? So it won't do it. And that would be probably our first Google Docs tip of the day, even though Docs, Sheets, Slides, they all do this, is when you're editing Google Doc, Google Sheets, Google Slides, when you click on links, it will not launch the link. You should be able to hold down Control and click on the link and it should open, I think.
Okay.
If you
it opened, I got it.
But otherwise, whenever you click on a link, it's gonna be like, do you want to edit it or do you want to go to it? And then it gives you the go to link, like a little lower, sometimes a little higher. Once you get used to it, I don't mind. I mean, I don't even try to use the keyboard shortcut. I just click and then go a little lower and it launches. It's up to you. So if you are on the premium page, I have, for the premium content, I have all these premium add-ons for you. And this one is the Form to Slides add-on. Now, someone asked me earlier, if you want, you can just right-click and copy the link address and then save it in Google Keep or somewhere so you don't have to keep coming back to this page to get the template if you'd like.
And Alice, do you have to use that every time you want to do that with your class? Like use that link?
So no. You could just reuse the same one over and over again indefinitely. So you'll notice that how this works here is I'm in this Google form and I click on the little puzzle piece. It says Form to Slides Premium. And I can set the slides at any time. So like right now it's going to this slides, but I could just click set slides and it would go to a different one. I don't want to do that right now because I don't want to mess it up. But I mean, it's super easy. A pop-up comes up and I just put the link to the new slides. So you could, in theory, just have one Google form that you call, we'll just use my name, you know, Keeler's, Zoom form. In fact, I should probably just do that and just use the same one all of the time and then you guys just have it and bookmark it. I don't know, whatever. I could put it in Google Classroom and you'd be like, oh, here's the form I use for when we do live sessions. And although you can do it asynchronously as well. And you just keep changing the slides if your slides change. Just set the slides to something new. Now, I'm using a Slides Mania template. So the way that the code works is it looks for the section header layout, but if you've deleted the section header, whatever, if you deleted that layout, then it gives you an error. So what I have is that you can choose the layout number. To be honest, it's a pain in the butt. So I'm over here in, it works. I'm over here in my Google Slides that I went to Slides Mania for, and you'll see it has all of these layouts. You'd think you could just count and be like, oh, well, it's the 5th one. Except it just doesn't work that way. You can't tell which layout is which number. So I guess. So I go in and I choose the layout number and I pick a number and then I try it out. I'm like, nope, that's not the layout I wanted. And then I just keep doing it until it's the layout I like. And then I don't have to worry about it again. So I don't want to mess it up because I did that. So you'll notice here, I'm able to go to the puzzle piece, slides to forms. 6 of you have filled this out. I'm going to send it to slides. And I'm on slide 2. And it's going to drop your, whoop, look at that. So put it into that specific layout. I might be having too much fun with this, just so we're clear. Okay, so thanks, Marianne, for being here. Like to know more about how to interact? Great, because that will go along with my next slide. Michelle feels that she's proficient. So Michelle, you're gonna have to let me know if I wowed you at the end, because that's my goal. Mimi's here, thanks, Mimi. It's good for writing. I mean, I write books. I've got more than one that I have 6 books that I've written, and I've got, I don't know how many I've started. Who knows if I'll ever finish them. I do them in Google Docs, for sure. Do the whole thing in Google Docs. And like my collaborator, she lives in, you know, you guys know Kim Matina, she lives in New Jersey. We are able to like do this really well. It works awesome. And create one, share with others, put in Google Classroom, add images and hyperlinks. You're doing pretty good. Except my thing that I'm gonna tell you is don't use Google Docs. So this is my intro to Google Docs webinar, and I'm gonna tell you just don't use Google Docs. That's tongue in cheek. I just told you I use Google Docs. So I write all of my books. And for any of you who've taken my workshops, you notice that I use Google Docs as a directions document, or I use Google Sites as my directions document. I use that quite frequently. So while I say do not use Google Docs, it is tongue-in-cheek, because what I would really like you to do is to really think, what is the right tool? I think we default a lot of times to Google Docs because we're comfortable with it. And so if you have a rule that you're not allowed to use Google Docs, like don't use Google Docs, well, what am I going to use instead? You see how you start having to have some critical thinking? And then you're like, no, I need to use a Google Doc for this. Okay, fine, great. But I would like to suggest to you that you have a default of, I don't use Google Docs. I use Google Slides, I use Google Forms, I use quizzes, I use Quizlet. A lot of the things that students are doing when you want students to do something, why are they doing it on a Google Doc? And so I would really like to just put that in your mind. Don't do that. You know what? You got to open those. Like, that sounds terrible. You know, as a high school teacher, I have 150 students. Even if I only had 30, I have to open up 30 Google Docs. And that is slow. Just
okay. Alice, could I ask you a question?
Please do.
Okay, I'm teaching 8th grade ELAR. What about writing essays?
Great, do it in slides.
Write essays in slides?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do file, if you need to, file, page setup, and you can reset the page to customize it to 8.5 by 11.
Right, that's right. I know that.
Really, what can you do in Google Docs that you can't do in slides?
Can I do feedback in slides?
Yeah.
I mean, I can
highlight individual words just like you can in a Google Doc and insert comments in slides the same way.
Will slides correct their spelling automatically?
Sure, it's spell check.
And grammar?
Maybe.
Slides, maybe. Okay.
You know, you can always copy and paste into a Google Doc to check your, maybe Control-A, select all. We should be teaching everyone Control-A, select all. You should use Control-A, select all every day. If you're not using enough Google, keyboard shortcuts, and you're being inefficient. So please use Control-A, select all. You know, like when you click on a box and it doesn't quite get everything that you wanted to, or you're like, shoot, I misspelled that and I need to start over. I just Control-A and start typing rather than deleting.
Alice, when I went to the premium form to Google Slides and I did that puzzle, it says that I need app access from Google.
Yeah, no, it says that no one from Google has looked at my code, and that would be because I didn't send it to them.
Yeah, it says the script attached to this document needs your permission to run. Do I just hit
Run it.
continue? And then put in my email?
You will select the email that you're authorizing, yes.
Alice,
Then-
what event is, sorry.
It still says the app isn't verified. This app hasn't been.
It's not verified. All of my add-ons will do that. You just need to put okay.
It says back to safety though. Do I just hit that?
No, you're gonna click on advanced and unsafe. This is the bane of my existence. You know what? Google has done this to make it sound scary so you don't sue them when somebody does code something that is evil. My stuff's not evil, so just approve all of them.
Okay.
If I ever meet the guy who made that screen, I'm gonna kick him in the shins. Like, he makes my life terrible. So,
And then that just goes to a Google slide even though I didn't even have one opened up?
no, it doesn't. It just authorized it, and I gotta do the puzzle piece to set it up.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So with the Google Slides are multimedia and they're collaborative. Like, how many people can you have on a Google Doc at any one time? I mean, you could have 50 people, but don't. That's a bad idea. I mean, functionally, how many people can be typing on the same Google Doc at the same time?
One, two.
Two.
Ideally, two. I mean, I say less than 5. I mean, if you've got more than 5 people who are typing, like, it's moving and it's very, like, disconcerting. And like, even in just working with just Kim, and I'm typing, and then all of a sudden my work's on the next page. I mean, that's good. That's what it's supposed to do. But it feels like, it keeps moving. Whereas if you use slides or a spreadsheet, it doesn't move when you have a collaborator. You know, I like to have all my students in the same Google Slides or all my students in the same spreadsheet, because then I only have to open up one document. What's the hardest part about essay writing is getting started. The kids sit there and stare at a blank screen. So what I like to do is to have one Google Slides, and if you want to, you can set it to 8.5 by 11, but how long does it take for you to realize you don't care that they type in landscape?
Okay.
And I can see everybody writing. So when I go in to give feedback, I've got all the slides. I can give feedback. Strong writers benefit from seeing, from giving feedback to those who need some feedback. And weak writers benefit from seeing the writing of stronger writers. So I want to get in the habit when students are doing writing that we're a community of learners who helps each other get better. You know, they share the documents anyway, just so you know, and you can't stop it. They can make a copy of it or copy paste it. You cannot restrict sharing if they're the owner, and that's how Google Classroom works. They're the owner of the document. So, like, stop playing whack-a-mole. They're going to do it anyway. They can see each other's work, which is a great reason to ask prompts that don't ask for the same answer. And then why am I giving all the feedback? The problem with a Google Doc, every student has their own Google Doc. I have to open all of those, and I got to give them feedback, which they might not even read. So if I do it in a Google Slides where everyone has their own slide, they're all doing their work on their own slide, I can go in and I can see who's done some work, when they've done it. I can give feedback. I can have others, you know, they should be giving feedback to each other. Giving feedback is a critical thinking skill, but you got to teach them how to do it. And if they give bad feedback, well, I can see that. You know, one of the best things about slides and even docs, it has this comment icon up at the top, and I click on that and it shows me all the comments that have been happening. Like, I'm writing this Jamboard book with Kim Mattina. Let me go grab it. Okay, so I am gonna go to docs. You can't see this because Zoom only lets me share one window. I'm going to docs.google.com because I know it was a Google Doc and I've been collaborating. So I want to find where this document is that I was working on with Kim. Come on, internet, cooperate with me. On the Jamboard. No, that's not the right one. This one. It's the wrong one. So when you use a Zoom, it sucks up all of your resources on your computer, and then everything goes slow, which is probably good. It makes me go a little slower. Okay, I'm gonna grab this. Come on, open up, puppy. Right, come on. Right, so I went to docs.google.com. I could have gone to Google Drive because that's where all of them are, right? All your Google Docs are in Google Drive, but, and I'm going to get into this in a second, docs.google.com is a filtered view of Google Drive where it just shows you your Google Docs, but it's pretty, so I like it. Does this have edit access? Do I have edit access? Give me edit access.
Jamboard.
Come on. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done this. It just wants to spin, but I'll be able to use this for a few different things. So Kim Matina is like the master of Jamboard. If you don't know what Jamboard is, it's a different kind of document. Oh shoot, yes, of course, like a dope. 1 second, y'all. This is what's really great about using Google Docs though, or slides or sheets, is how quickly it is to get someone like, I don't have access. I'm like, just give me a second. I'd be done already if I wasn't having this Zoom suck up all my my RAM. Oh, let's go. All right, give myself permission. And here we are. And refresh. What I like is when I'm collaborating on a Google Doc, you know, we're all typing at the same time, and we insert comments. And so I'll show you some of these comments. You know, why do I use a Google Doc? It's because I want to collaborate. I got a slide for this. Like I said, I don't even know why I have slides. I'd rather just show the documents. Come on, it wants to load. Do you see this little icon right here that for right now is gray, but in a second, it's not going to be gray. Here we go. What the heck? There it is, right? So that's my comments, my conversations, that when people make comments. So when you leave comments on a student's Google Doc or slides, you can click on this little icon and you can see the most recent comment. You don't have to scroll the whole document. I mean, that's a great reason to use Google Docs, right? So I'm collaborating. Here's Kim. I can see the last comment. This is the most recent comment right there up at the top. I can tell if I replied. If I click on the comment, it jumps me to that spot in the document. Ooh, this drives me nuts when it loads so slowly. I have really fast internet too. So you can do that though also with Google Slides. So what I want students to do, so I want them to give feedback to each other because we're all in the same Google Slides. Everyone's writing is on their own slide. Now if you really, really need 1-inch margins and it's formatted, like how many times a year do you need it MLA formatted? Like 3? Great. Use Google Docs 3 times a year. But I mean, they can always copy and paste it into a Google Doc. So if you started in slides at least, I can give them that feedback to get them started. We work collaboratively. I have them give feedback to each other, which critique the reasoning of others is a great feedback skill, critical thinking skill. So back to my point, don't use Google Docs as a default. Like, why can't I use something else? Don't have students fill stuff in like it's a worksheet on a Google Doc. You got to open that and read what they wrote on the line. That sounds terrible. If it's read what they wrote on the line, they should put that into a Google form. They would use forms. I think most of the time where people use a Google Doc, they really should be using a Google form. So think about that. And of course, quizzes and Quizlet have some great features that'll grade it for you. They have built-in motivation, gamification. They're much more fun than filling out a Google Doc. So I would like go through other tools and be like, well, should I use one of these? And if you're like, no, that's not really gonna work, then use a Google Doc. But use it as your last choice, not your first choice. That would be my suggestion. So back to the Google form, same exact Google form. What would you use Google Docs for? So now that I told you, do not use Google Docs, what would you use it for? And I'm gonna warn you, I'm going to tell you why you would not use it. Whatever you put, I'm going to tell you why you don't need to have a Google form. Or maybe I'll agree with you. We'll see. We will see. I'm going to put the link to the form again. When giving a shared slide, how do you prevent students from messing up their slides or deleting a slide? Marianne, I trust them. You know, the first time, second time, fifth time, they're going to be goofing around, deleting each other's slides. Adults do that too. You know, you don't come out of the womb knowing how to collaborate on digital tools. How do I keep them from pushing and shoving in line? It's exactly the same. How do I teach kindergartners to line up at the door? I think it's easier to teach kindergartners or any age level how to add a slide and work on their own slide in a Google Slides. It's easier than teaching them to walk quietly to the library. Yeah, that's a fact. Okay. Yeah. All right, I am on slide 11. So you're putting in what would you use Google Docs for? I've got my Google form here. 5 of you have responded. It's going to give you another few seconds to tell me what do you think you would use a Google Doc for, and you can do it anonymously.
Oh.
Okay. Last chance. Just submit what you got. Just submit it. Just submit it. Whatever you have mid-sentence. So I'm going to do it right now. Did I say I was on slide 11? Form to slides. I'm going to send it to slides. Slide 11. Oh, missed somebody. I'm going to do it again.
Probably me.
It's okay. You're coming right now. I'm going to send a slide 11. All right. All good.
Is that how you do it, Alice? You send to slides and have a slides open and then it will just go to it?
Yeah. So you see I have the Google form open.
Yeah.
I just toggle over the Google form. I send it to the slides. And you see it automatically deletes so I can reuse it. So then I just keep using the exact same form for the entire presentation. And I can ask you as many questions as I want. Kind of like clickers. A little bit. A little bit. Okay, so what would you use Google Docs for? I use a Google Doc to collaborate with my teachers. Yeah, when I do lesson planning and some of these different things, I do use a Google Doc for that. Like I said, I write my books on them. I do use them. I just want to encourage you that's your last choice, not your first choice. Great, then we're just not going to use them. Paul is a beginner plus. Eva's here, so I think we have some answers from before, which is fine. I was using it for an answer column. Don't do that. If you're going to use it for an answer column, use a Google form. Or a spreadsheet. Google Sheets are awesome. They're a table. If you're making a table, use spreadsheets. If anyone knows me, no one loves spreadsheets more than me. The answer is always a spreadsheet, except when it's Google Slides. And its very last is Google Docs. Right? Use your Google Doc to write a syllabus, which you might want to do it in Google Slides. I know people who do this because it's an open canvas, so it's a lot easier to get your Bitmoji and your pictures and make it look like an infographic when you do it in Google Slides. I mean, you can reset your Google Slides to be 8.5 by 11, but now you have all kinds of ways to be fun. It's 2020. Some people need the syllabus printed out, but most people will access it digitally, right? Which means you can add video. Google Slides are multimedia, so you can make a multimedia syllabus, infographic syllabus. I have a blog post on this somewhere. And make a much cooler looking syllabus if you use Google Slides. If I'm going to have kids type a paragraph, I'm going to have them all do it in the same Google Slides. I'm going to make one Google Slides. Everybody adds the slides and types their paragraph, because especially a paragraph, I don't want to open up a Google Doc per kid. If I'm going to open up a Google Doc per kid, there should be something substantial that really necessitates my time to wait for those suckers to load to open up. Now, if I don't want them to see everybody's answers, which sometimes I don't, I have them write the answer in the private comments. I have them write their answer, in the private comments in Google Classroom. So anyone who's taken a workshop with me knows exactly how I do that. That's like my favorite trick. If it's a paragraph, I don't want to open any documents. I'll open no documents at all. Just put it in the private comments and I can reply right back. Now, if you're a premium member, you have this form to slides template, right? So you could just have them write their paragraph into the Google form, and then you can send all their answers to Google Slides, and you can put feedback and comments and things on there. Just saying. I personally would not, for one paragraph, use Google Doc. I just wouldn't. Try doing it in Slides. You know what's awesome about Slides is I can drag my Bitmoji right onto it. If I drag my Bitmoji onto a Google Doc, it jacks up all the words. If I drag my Bitmoji onto Google Slides, I can put it off on the margin so it doesn't even cover their words, or I can just stick it on there and it's this open canvas. If I do it in Google Slides, I can turn on I'm wearing a Screencastify shirt today. I can turn on Screencastify and I can give them video feedback, and I can insert video from Google Drive, because Screencastify saves to Google Drive, and then I take the video and I shrink it up all really small, and I can just stick little tiny videos as feedback. What's the difference? If they type it in a Google Doc or they type it in Google Slides, what does it matter? But if I do it in Google Slides, I can add my own slide. When I use Google Slides, and students all have their own individual Google Slides, like they might have their own individual Google Doc, I insert my own slide. I have a purple background. I add a purple background just because that's my color. Lime green and purple is my colors, whatever. You choose whatever feedback color you want. But they stick out. So when the students see their slides of whatever they've typed, I have a purple slide that's feedback. I like to drag my Bitmoji on it for my feedback. And I like to sometimes add some video feedback that's embedded. I get the whole slide. I get the whole slide for feedback. You can't do that with docs. So I would encourage you to think about, if they're answering 10 questions, why not do a question per slide? And then they can add a picture, they can add a video, they can get more into it. You can add feedback either right on their slide, or you can add another slide into their work, so you can give them bigger feedback with more room and more fun. So I think you should just use slides. Yeah, I use them for directions documents. You know, the thing that you want to do with a directions document is I want you to really look at it and say, is this engaging? You want to alter the text, different font sizes, different font types, add images. If you've seen any of my, I'm going to open up right now. I'm going to find a directions document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the internet run incredibly slowly. Come here. He's not even exiting out of presentation. And I'm going to go to docs.google.com. Remember, this is Google Drive, but filtered for Google Docs. Come in. And just look how nice this looks. It looks so nice. And you have a template gallery if you wanted to. I use that never, but you could. You can make a blank Google Doc here, and you can see all your Google Docs. How awesome is that? Docs.google.com. So up here, I'm going to look for Google Docs that have the word direction in the title. You notice I have a lot of them. So this is how I format my Google Docs. If I'm going to use a Google Docs for directions, as you all know, my bestest best tip is to number all of your assignments. And I include the assignment number in the directions document number sometimes. See, sometimes I don't. So, but I'm going to say that I do this pretty consistently. That way when I'm walking around the room and I see kids on a Google Doc, I know they're on the one for this assignment. I know they're on the right place. The kids know they're in the right place. The numbers match. And I type directions in capital letters as the very first words, because in Google Classroom it cuts off the title. So I want them to know this is directions. So let's just look at I'm just going to open up a random one. how do I format my Google Docs for directions? I create a table and I remove the borders so that I have my Bitmoji with text. So I want them to feel like they have a teacher. So if I'm doing anything that's a directions document, my master's is in educational media design and technology, and one of the things that I learned in my master's program is that if you do digital tutorials, you need to have something that guides them through it like they have a teacher, except they have a teacher. So use you. That's what Bitmoji is awesome for. So you'll notice what I try to do is I try to space things out so it's not just huge chunks of text. I don't show students live how to use the internet. I just include screenshots mixed in with my directions. You see that I can add animated GIFs. I use Snagit for that. AliceKeeler.com/Snagit. You can get a discount. And anywhere where I'm giving them like a tip, I'm trying to act like a person and not just be cold directions, that's when I use the Bitmoji in a table, and I try to use a different font. So you want to mix it up so that the directions document looks interesting. That's my suggestion. Okay, back to the slides. Right, syllabus. Thanks, Muni. Okay, so something important to know for the basics of the introduction to Google Docs is that Google Docs save to Google Drive. You create them in Google Drive. So when I go to drive.google.com, you don't have to wait for me to breathe if you want to ask a question. Just interrupt. You know, I'm in Google Drive. I can click new. Come on. And it says Google Docs. I knew that was going to happen. I can create a new Google Doc. It saves to Google Drive. And then up in the search box of Drive, I can search. You'd see this little tiny triangle. And I say I want to search for documents. So I can filter my Google Drive for those Google Docs. Now, here's something that's cool. Unlike Microsoft, your Google Docs do not count against your storage. Now, it's completely irrelevant for your school account because your school account has unlimited storage. But Google Drive, your personal one, I don't know, you get like 15 gigs. So what you'll notice when I come down here where it says file size, see where it says file size over here in this column? My doc, sheet, slides, drawings, any of these Google things, jams, no, 0 file size. Videos
Right.
suck up your Google Drive. Put your videos in your school account, just so you know. All right, back to my slides. How do you create a Google Doc? Since this is an intro to Google Docs, I just showed you, you go to Google Drive, you click the new button, create a document right there. My favorite thing to do is I do Control-T, new tab, and you'll notice the cursor is right there. Look, no hands. And the cursor is in the address bar, the URL. So I just start typing docs.new. I type docs.new and I don't have to use the mouse. So I do Control-T, no mouse, docs.new, no mouse, enter, no mouse. I'm going to get a brand new Google Doc. Now, how many of us forget to name our documents? Like all of us. So one of the key things to know about Google Docs is there's no save button. And even if I use the word chupacabra a lot, so this is probably not a good example. Right? So, oops. Usually it saves instantly. You can see if this is new, that they have this saving icon. The only reason it's not instantly saved is because Zoom is sucking up all of my resources. Now it says save to drive. That's what that little icon means, like you're good to close it. I have been using Google Docs since 2010, maybe 2009, and I still feel weird that there's no save button. It still feels weird. You know, that moment of panic never goes away, just so you know. So I've closed it, and I go into Google Drive. Now, the first thing I do when I open up Google Drive is I click on Recent. That's the first thing I always do. I wish it just defaulted to Recent. There it is. You see it? This untitled document. Even if I forget to name it, saves it. If at the top, like, you know, like maybe it's not there under Recent. You made it weeks ago. Fine. I'm going to type in chupacabra. This is going to find any document that has the word chupacabra in it. I'm going to filter this for documents, and I'm also going to filter it for today just so I can make this go a little faster. Ah! Oh my gosh, you guys.
You didn't give it a title.
I didn't put title colon. So when I type chupacabra, it's actually searching the entire document.
Oh, okay.
Because that, like, chupacabra is like one of my favorite words, obviously. And I accidentally clicked the X. That's what I did because it's lagging because I'm running this Zoom. Enter. Today, yeah. Okay, all right, what? I must have spelled it wrong. Whatever. All right, it does work. It does work. I probably spelled chupacabra. This is embarrassing. It should have come right up. Chupacabra. I think it spelled it right. I don't know. Things really don't work when you're being watched. But that's really what's nice, something about Google Docs is it saves to Google Drive. I can, even if I don't name it, which, by the way, do you know this trick? If you type in the document first and then click in the upper left, it matches the first line. Yes. That's true for slides also. If on the first slide, whatever the title is on the first slide, and then I click up in the corner, it'll match the name. That's a little nice. It's a little nice. I have a bunch of slides that are mostly to remind me these are the things I wanted to go over, so I'm just going to remember what I want to go over right now. As I look at my Google Doc, one of the first things I want to do is click where it says Untitled Document and name it, but even if you don't, you will survive. Now let's look to the right of the title. Zoom this sucker in. So, here is a trick. If you think you will ever touch this again, I want you to star it. Because student documents have the same name. Now that you're using Google Classroom or whatever you're using and your students are using Google Docs, they've shared them with you. Your drive is cluttered up with other people's documents. So I star them so that I can filter my Google Drive for them being starred, and all the student work goes away. Beautiful. Right next to that is a folder icon, and this allows me to organize this Google Doc into a folder, because of course the folder is saved in Google Drive. It does not save to your computer. I don't know, like every day I'm typing on a Google Doc, Google Slides, Google Sheets, whatever. I'm in the middle of a sentence. I have 5 kids, so something happens and I have to leave. Like I was working on the presentation for this webinar, and then I would have an office, and so I was gonna go do the webinar at my office. I just got up and walked out the door. I didn't touch or save or move or do anything because I have a computer at my office, and I go to Google Drive, and it's gonna be right there. I don't have to email it to myself. I don't need a thumbstick. Like those are dead to me. Thumbsticks are dead to me. And I got there, and then someone was doing construction. I'm like, how long are you guys gonna be putting in a new door? And they're like, it's gonna be a while. I'm like, I'm out of here, peace out. So I came back to my house. I'm like, wherever I'm at, I'm gonna have my stuff because it's in Google Drive. It's amazing. Now, if you look over here, this is a pretty new feature. Do you know this? You can see if anyone's looked at your document. So when students are like, I didn't have time to work on this.
Okay, you can do that.
Yeah. You can click on there and be like, yeah, you didn't even open it up until last night, so shut up. Don't say it that way. That's what I would say to my own personal children who like whine on the floor that they can't do the dishes or whatever. All right. And then, of course, the comment history. There's no comment history in a new document. But when you're collaborating, this thing is gold right there. I hope that if I have a document I collaborate on, hey, guess what? If I'm looking at student work, I'm collaborating with the student. That's what that means. And I go straight for that comment icon, and I teach the students to go straight for that comment icon. Did anyone give me any feedback? Don't scroll for the feedback. Don't look for where someone just inserted a comment. No, click the comment icon. Boom, there's all the comments. No scrolling, it's beautiful. It is really important in a Google Doc that you understand the sharing permissions. Docs, sheets, slides, doesn't really matter. Super important you understand the sharing permissions. I didn't start the recording. Pretty sure. Oh no, I did.
Alice?
You did.
Woo, did.
What about the publish to web versus the sharing permissions?
Marianne, I like how you think that is an intro topic. I'm going to address that though.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This is edit version. You can see the toolbar. If I share this with someone, if I copy this link up at the very top, if I share this with somebody, they're going to see it in edit view. They're going to see the toolbar and the margins and these kinds of things. Be it they be a viewer or whatever. So different is file, publish to the web.
Oh.
You do file, publish to the web, and I click publish, say okay. It doesn't matter that your document is private. This link is visible by anybody. So publish to the web is separate. You do not have to change the sharing permission to let people look at it. Now, when I do publish to the web, it makes it a web page. I'm going to copy this. Check it out. Don't you think it's weird there's no share to classroom icon there? I think that's weird. So notice when that's the link, the publish to the web look. It doesn't look like a Google Doc at all. It's not in live time. When I use a Google Doc and I share it with you and you type on this document at the same time as me, we see it in real live time, character for character. The only reason it was gonna lag, because I'm gonna do this right now, is because I'm on a Zoom and it's sucking up all of my resources. Otherwise, you type S, I see the S immediately. It's amazing. Publish to the web does not do that. Publish to the web refreshes like every 5 minutes. So if you make some edits, it's gonna be 5 minutes before the parents see it if you sent it out as a newsletter or something. I'm gonna click on the blue share button. Notice that by default, it has a padlock. By default, it has a padlock.
Alice,
Mm-hmm.
when you publish to the web, can anybody see it? I mean, somebody in Croatia can
Well,
see it, or
it's
what?
not-
Is that safe?
But I'm not confident about it. It's not Google searchable. They'd have to have the link.
Okay.
I mean, it's not 100% true, but it's 99% true. So let's just go with that. Okay? They'd have to have the link. So yes, someone in Croatia could see it, but they would need to have the link. You know, when you want to share in a Google Doc, you just type someone's email address, and I can share it with them. It says, do I want to notify them? Yes or no. You want to send an email about it. What kind of, notice the default is editor status because Google Docs are to collaborate. Why are you using a Google Doc? So you can collaborate. That's like the rule. Now you can change it to they have comment access or view access only. Now understand this, view access cannot see comments. So the comments in the margin are not visible to viewers. You know what Google Classroom does? When students hit turn in, it makes them a viewer.
Oh.
And viewers cannot see the comments in the margin, which is why it's extra important that you return the documents.
Return the document.
Yeah, if you don't return in Google Classroom, they cannot see the feedback comments.
Oh, that's very important.
Very important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to click this share button again. I'm going to click the share button. Now down here at the bottom it says get the link, and it says change link to Alice Keeler. This Alice Keeler smashed together all one word is my school name. Just go with it. So I'm going to click on this because now, do you see it has this little building icon? It says it is now only visible by people at my school. So if I share the link, if I copy the link and I give it to parents, they cannot see this Google Doc. They'll get an error. So I'm going to click on this little drop down and I'm going to say, no, I want it to be anyone with the link and they can view or edit. So I'm going to change this from viewer to editor. I'm going to give all of you edit access and I'm going to copy the link. This skill right here is huge. You cannot be a Google Apps user. You cannot call yourself a Google Apps user if you don't know how to share a document, because that's the whole point of using Google Docs, to share. So you got to be able to click on the share button, change the sharing permissions. You can type in the email address, say, look, I'm only sharing with Kim Bettina. Me and Kim are writing this book together. You guys don't get to see it. Listen, if you want it more general, you come down and you change it to say anyone can view, anyone at my school can view, anyone in the whole world can view, or edit. And you make those decisions. You click copy the link. I'm going to put this down here. Please type on my Google Doc. Now you're going to see right now this is a terrible idea. I'm going to let it be a terrible idea. I've now given you all edit access to my Google Doc, and I'm going to let you see what a terrible idea that was. Terrible.
Okay, I see Alice is a chupacabra.
Type something on here. Everyone type something on here. Go. Oh my gosh, this just never gets old. Because you joined anonymously, you didn't log in, I didn't type in your email addresses, you log in as an anonymous animal. If I click on any one of these anonymous animals, I jump to where you are. Do you see how as you type, I see you type in live time, I see you type. That never gets old. This is exciting for me right now. Like you guys are typing on my document in front of my face, character for character. There is no lag usually, unless the internet's bad or your Zoom's sucking up all your resources.
Alice, I'm sorry. Where is this document?
I put the link in the chat.
Oh, it's in the chat. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, I should have
there it
been
is.
more explicit about that.
No, I'm slow.
Now, the thing is, if I am using a Google Doc, it's because I'm going to collaborate. And by the way, I collaborate on everything. So the first thing I do is I push enter a whole bunch of times. I do a new document and I push enter a whole bunch of times because you guys are fighting for the cursor space. You're typing in the same place that I'm typing. Unlike Google Slides and a spreadsheet where you can get your own space, no, there's no your own space in a Google Doc. So what I do is I push enter a whole bunch of times and then I share it with you. I'm like, you type down there. I'm going to type up here. So that quickly is my first move. I make a new Google Doc and I push enter a whole bunch of times. And that gives us room to collaborate together. And if I click on the walrus, it jumps me to the walrus. I'm going to like push you way down. Because it'll be way more exciting. I'm up here at the top, and I go into who are my participators, and now I jump to the walrus. Whoa, that was cool.
Walrus?
Yes, whoever the walrus is.
Where's the walrus? What are you talking about, walrus?
So if you're the walrus, you wouldn't see it.
Oh.
So it gives you the list of the names of your students if they are shared explicitly on the document, which usually they are. And if they're not, if they shared it like this.
Okay.
Other rules. Do you see this little icon here in the sidebar? Document outline. I love document outline. So the trick to doing document outline is you have to use headings. This is a key skill. See where it says normal text in the toolbar?
Yeah. Oh, so cool.
You should be using headings. A lot of times we just make the font bigger and bolder. It's not good for screen readers. And when I use headings, it automatically populates my outline. And those are clickable. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do a level 2 heading. And you can see over here in the side in the document outline that it automatically adds it there and it's clickable, so it jumps me to that spot. So if you make now do I still have my directions document open? It's this one. Let's look at my document outline. Because I use headings. I'm religious about it. I use headings. So the students, when I make a directions document, when I make a syllabus, when I do anything, they can go to that document outline on the side and jump around in the document and then get down to the activity directions. Right there.
Wow. It's like an index.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can manually. I'm glad that I pretty much almost never use this. I can insert a table of contents, which shows my headings. Again, you have to use headings, you have to. But you have to manually refresh it. The document outline, you do not. And this takes up room in my Google Doc, and the document outline does not. I love the document outline. I have 3 minutes and a lot more tips, dang it.
Quick question. The publish to web, when people have access to that, is it like editors too, or what kind of level of access do they have?
It is view only. And
View only. Okay.
The link can see it.
Yeah, but they will refresh, right? If whatever changes just a little bit.
It's not lifetime.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's just take a look at the file menu. Here's what I want you to do. Like, Alice, how are you so good at using technology? I click on all the menus. Give me a new tool. I'm like, file menu, edit menu, view menu, and then I'm going to click on I literally will click on every single thing I can click on. You give me a new tool, I just click on all of it. So let's just look at this real quick. You could download. That hurts my soul. I try never to download ever. Email as attachment. So if I'm sending it like as a PDF or Word, someone's like, it has to be in Word. So when I was like working on my doctorate that I dropped out of, they want it all in Word. I'm like, really, it's good in a Google Doc. Why don't you take this? I would just, you see down here, I can change it from a PDF to a Word doc. The problem is when you attach it, no updates. You're like, oh shoot, typo. It doesn't update the Word document. It doesn't update the PDF. So I don't use this unless like I have to. For reals. No thank you, email attachment, but you can. You need to, you can. File make a copy is a really essential skill. If someone shares a Google Doc with you and you want your own, then you're going to click on make a copy and get your own. Here's the deal. If you don't want them to make a copy, click on the share button. You click on the settings cog up in the corner. This is new, brand new, and you uncheck. You're like, yeah, you can't copy or print this. You can keep them from downloading it, printing it, copying it. So if it's copyright, you can prevent that. Okay.
Alice, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay, let's say I'm in, Google Classroom and I create an assignment and there's, and I create a Google Doc.
Google Classroom. It just doesn't work in Google Classroom because they're given edit access. For a view, if it's a only doc, you could.
But I mean, I've been clicking make every student a copy.
You should stop.
Is that what is that what I should do?
No, you should stop doing that. I
stop
try
doing
to that 20% of my documents or less because I don't want to open them. So when I make assignments, I'm like, do I have to open that? I don't want to open that. So then I assign something else. I have them write in the private comments. I have them do quizzes. I have them fill out a Google form. Like, I try not to assign myself giant piles of paperwork. But if you assign a copy to them, they're the owner. So you can't restrict owners from anything.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my problem. We're out of time.
Yeah.
So let me just real quickly run through my slides just to give you my last tips. And then for those of you who need to go, please go. And then I'll finish up a couple of things for those of you who'd like to finish. You should absolutely install Google Docs on your phone. Install Google Docs on your phone. You should know that you can make a folder in Google Drive, and you can make, if you're in the folder in Google Drive, you can create documents and they're in that folder by default. So that's really nice. Wait, no, I didn't do this. Okay. Should be able to name your Google Doc. There's no save button. Star your originals, move your file. The reason we use Google Docs is to collaborate. You got to know your sharing permissions. Click on that blue share button. Google Classroom does the sharing permissions for you, so that's really nice. You can, I already showed you this, how to restrict making copies or downloads. I don't like copies. Like, I don't want to download something. I don't want to make a copy. It is essential to use version history, and I'm 100% going to show that after I go through these slides. You have to be a version history master. Don't make copies. That's the paradigm shift of using Google Docs. When I'm collaborating, I use the file menu. I choose email collaborators. And I'm like, hey, your turn. I typed on this. You should type on it. Your turn. File, email, collaborators. I use that one a lot. The default is edit. But if I'm collaborating, I switch to suggesting mode. You'll notice there's a little pencil in the toolbar. And so that I don't delete my collaborator's words. That's rude. It is rude to delete someone else's words. You can suggest that you delete their words.
A box of
I told you about using headings. Told you about the document outline. If you don't know this, you can hyperlink with Control K. That's where you highlight some words, Control K, and it makes it clickable. Format Painter is a must. That is where if you've got it like Comic Sans size 50 and then something else, you want it to be the Comic Sans size 50, you can paint them the same. I should show you those two things. Version history, make available offline. It's manual. File, make available offline. Make sure your students are aware of this option. It integrates really nicely with Google Keep. Is that my last one? Pretty much. In the sidebar, it has the Google Keep icon, and you can drag your notes right into a Google Doc. In my blog post today, if you go to alicekeo.com, I think you're going to really like my blog post today. It shows how you can have a checklist of criteria for students and then drag that checklist into student documents. So the last thing that I have on my slides for those of you who need to go is alicekeo.com/pull the paragraph. I started off with don't use Google Docs, but if you did, alicekeo.com/pull the paragraph allows you to grab all of the words off of their Google Docs and puts it in a spreadsheet where I can read everybody's words all at the same time, and I don't have to open up any of them. I give them feedback in the spreadsheet, and I push it back to their Google Doc. It is way faster. I have a webinar that I have linked to. So if you need to go, please go. I'm just going to real quick, I'm going to come into this Jamboard document that I've been doing with Kim Matina. And something that is an essential skill is version history. Essential skill is version history. You got to go to version history. Now it's constantly saving, so it does it automatically. But I want you to every so often when you make major revisions, name it. Before I share with students, I name it template. Before I share it with students, I name it template. File, version history. I use the same syllabus, the same Google Doc. I do not make copies. I do not make copies. I call it syllabus 2017. And then next year, I do not make a copy. No. I edit it, and it's now 2018, and I go name the current version, syllabus 2018. Before I give feedback comments to a student, I go, teacher left you feedback. I name it. I'll put things like that in there so we can see where the edits happened. So if you see the version history, you can see over here in the sidebar. See how I named it? I edited on Saturday. My friend Alexis, Kim, and I edited it on the 18th at 1 o'clock. At 11:53, the three of us edited it. At 10:51, I actually created it. So when students are like, this was too hard, I couldn't get it done, you're like, really? Let's take a look at the version history. File version history. This is a group project. I don't see your name in there at all. I see you didn't even open this or create it. You didn't type one word on this until last night. You want to file it? You want an extension? Think about that.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So if you go into version history and you actually, after working on it multiple times on different dates, and then want to actually use an earlier version, you just click on that date and that earlier version is there and you can use that.
Now, I do this more often with my Google Slides. Now, what I should have done was before I shared this with you guys, I should have done file version history, name the current version template. Because if I want to do this webinar again, I don't want your comments in there. I'm going to see the version history. I'm going to, it should show where you got, you know what? They're all my edits because you used my code to add the slides. You guys didn't do it, so that's hilarious. So I'm just going to click on these versions over here. Okay, do you see it still has your notes in it? Okay, that's not it. Da-da-da. All right, so you see when I click on this version, no names. It is before you typed on it, but was I done? Do you see how I screwed up? I should have, before I shared it with you guys, I should have done file version history and named it template. What about this one? This has no names also. And I'm looking for is the spot where your names show up. Okay, I'm gonna call this one template because this one, no, this one's not template. Where is it? See, aha, names. So that makes this one template. I'm fighting the internet. It's just wanting to be very slow. But so then I'm going to click restore this version. And all of your names and suggestions and everything you put in there, gone. Like, but Alice, those were so good. There were some good tips in there. Can't you put that back? Sure. I know you guys all want a shortcut. You want a shortcut? You see where it says last edit?
Huh.
Sometimes it says saved or something. It says something right here. If you click on it, it opens up version history. So this one is the webinar participated. See, I can name the versions. And I just click restore this version, it's gonna put it back. Before I do that, if you just really needed to, you can do the 3 dots and you can copy the version.
So by restoring any of the earlier,
I don't want copies.
restoring any of the earlier versions still allows you to go back to the later version if you want and restore that.
Right, so
Okay.
like you know, I teach at a university. Like I said, I've been using the exact same Google Doc for over 10 years, whatever. I don't make copies. I just edit it. I name it when I make edits. And then somebody comes back and says they're applying for a master's program and they need my syllabus from 3 years ago. Awesome. I go find the syllabus from 3 years ago in the version history. I restore it. I Control-P print and hand it to them. And then I put it back. I restore it back to the current version. In fact, I actually do that a lot, is I toggle versions. I'm like, I'm going to go back to this version, restore it, because it's risk-free. But it's really helpful to name your versions. Because otherwise it just puts a date on it. You see how hard that was? That was a mistake.
Right.
Stupid of me. Stupid. Before I do something, I should name it template.
What about if there are parts on previous versions that you want to put it in the oldest version? Can you select, copy, and add it? Because that has happened to me. That
I do that, especially when I'm on a collaborative document. So it's like, I need some of this old stuff that's gone, but I don't want to restore it back the way it was.
right.
So I go into the version history. I can actually copy it in the version history. If it's giving me trouble, that's when I'll do the 3 dots and make a copy of the old version so I can copy and paste a little easier. And then I just name that copy delete.
Okay.
You know?
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, format, painter. Let me show you this really quick. I am going to make this hot pink. I am going to make this Comic Sans, and I'm going to make it size 48. I'm like, but I want this to be the same. What you do is you highlight some of it. You don't have to do all of it. And you click this little paint roller.
Mm-hmm.
And then you paint. I'm going to stop right here. So whatever I highlight now.
That's great.
Okay, did I cover everything? Is there any questions? Did those, I did that, File, email collaborators is what, this is a Google Slides docs, they work the same. Where's the email collaborators? I don't have any collaborators, so it won't let me. But if I had some, where's my one with Kim? Whatever. File, email collaborators. If I type on it, I file email collaborators. I'm like, I typed on it. Why don't you do something? I let them know. And it sends them the link to the document. Like, your turn. I think I got everything.
So all our students are going to be collaborators, or?
So I'd like you to rethink how you approach using Google Docs. First of all, don't use Google Docs. That's our first rethink. Where did that go? Where'd that slide go?
Should be the first one.
The first one.
Don't use Google Docs. Okay, use slides. Why wouldn't you collaborate on everything with your students? I'm going to give you some ballsy, there are things I only give them view access to, but give them edit access. Let them mess your stuff up. Who cares? You go, before I share it with them, I go file, version history, I name the current version, template. And then I give them edit access so they can participate actively, so it's not so teacher-centered. Now we're facilitating. I want to shift my mindset that teaching is facilitating and collaborating.
Yeah.
So use slides, give them edit access, use the version history, even with your docs. You've got version history. Collaboration is risk-free. So what if they edit it?
Okay.
I can fix it.
Alice, question?
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, I have lots of questions, but we'll just start with this.
Okay.
I use Google Docs for an answer column. You said don't do that, use Sheets. Now, I know you're gonna do something a little bit later on sheets,
Yeah.
so I'm okay if we wait to do sheets. But you said don't make copies, so should I save this for sheets for answer columns for when you do your sheets?
So
No, I gotta be real careful how I say
it's
that.
an introduction to sheets. So I don't know how deep we'll get into this, but like one of my favorite things is template tab. So
Right.
in the spreadsheet, if you're going to have an answer column, I make it wider, I turn on word wrap, I number them, and then I use the template tab add-ons. You go to the add-ons menu, you add the add-ons, and it makes a copy per student in the same spreadsheet, which I like because I only have to open up one document. Now,
That makes,
you should probably be using Google Form.
I'm sorry, say that again.
You should probably use a Google Form.
But if I've got 20 answers, that's a lot, that's a lot to type. And then there's, I'm sorry?
Chunk it, because you want to see everybody's answer number one. You want to see everybody's answer number two all at the same time in the same place. Like everyone having their own Google Doc, their own spreadsheet is a grading nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the DOK level, Michelle, on these questions that you're asking? Okay, I'm glad that we're agreed. Don't grade that stuff. You are the most valuable element in a classroom, and you're spending your time grading DOK1. Stop it. Use quizzes or a Google form. Have it auto grade it and move on, because to give high quality feedback loops is insanely time consuming. You can't do both. You can either grade low critical thinking DOK1, or you can give feedback that they have to respond to the feedback, and then you have to read it again.
Welcome to my mess.
One or the other. You can't do both. There's not enough hours in the day. If you really want to interact with students, encourage and push them further, you got to focus your attention on the higher critical thinking, which is really time consuming.
Right.
So I want you to, I'd like to make a very bold statement. DOK1 is not your job.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to think about all the places where math. I love how people are like, oh, math's critical thinking. No, it's not. We've literally replaced the entire math class with an online course that's a video and a digital quiz. Use Pearson, MyLab. I hate this thing. It's very low student engagement. But this exists. Khan Academy, don't they have Khan Academy for like every single subject?
Almost.
Econ, coding, math. Khan Academy can be done 100% independently without a teacher. Okay, it's 2020. If Khan Academy, which I'm not a fan of Khan Academy, that's a totally different conversation. If Khan Academy can be done completely independently without a teacher, then either teachers are obsolete or teachers do something else. And I don't think that was ever our superpower. Why did we grade low critical thinking in the first place? Because I had to. No one was going to do it for me, but now robots will do it for me. I'm going to let them. If you spend your time reading answer columns, first of all, I don't think you're finding passion in your job. That's just a guess. When I get the aha moment that a kid learned something, that's the passion in my job. I get that from working with kids on higher quality feedback. I never, ever get it from grading. Never.
Mm-hmm.
That's my suggestion. That's my suggestion.
Okay, I will process. I see what you're saying. It's
Well, Michelle, I
a
know
lot easier.
you and I chat a lot, and I will continue to encourage you.
No problem.
Use more robots.
Makes sense. It's a lot of work up front, but it's going to save me a lot of time.
I got another one for you. Ready for this? Worksheet Wednesdays. So what you're going to do is you have the students, you give them the worksheets or whatever it is, bookwork, the answer key, and they make the quizzes. They make the Google form. They make the Quizlet. They give the link to you. You make a copy of it. Why should it be work up front for you? True or false? The kids would like to make them for you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Okay. I'm
And
just
then they're
writing all
excited,
this
like,
down.
that's the one I made. When you assign it,
Huh. Okay.
you know, they have some ownership in the class. Give them some responsibilities. All this stuff that you have to do, why are you doing it? Catlin Tucker, she's an English teacher in Santa Rosa. She wrote the book Blended Learning for grades 4 through 12. And her phrase is, have the students do it. Whatever you're doing, why can't a kid do it? Person doing the work's the person doing the learning. She has the kids call parents. They have to call them themselves. She has the kids do some lesson planning. She has them doing feedback. Like, think about it. How do I get the person doing the work is the person doing the learning? Let's let the kids do the work. And they want to. They have, now it's their class and not your class. Win-win. They want to. Remember the old school who wants to clap out the erasers? See, they want to. I'm that old.
I'm older. We used a chisel and a rock.
Oh my gosh, yeah, my math teachers had a literal black chalkboard, you know. All right. Any other questions?
So,
My idea of intro to Google Docs is probably different than anybody else's.
Basically, what you're saying is don't use Google Docs. If you can use something else, use it.
Right.
And only use.
It's my last choice, not my first choice. It's my last choice. I'm going to help you, Michelle. It's going to be a good year.
Oh, well, of course it is. It's lot of
Michelle,
stuff to learn.
what do you teach, Michelle?
I teach math,
Oh, okay. I'm English.
but I've got a different setup than what probably most of you have. I'm at a continuation school, so I've got kids. If I teach business math, I've got kids in one math class anywhere between chapter 1 and chapter 23, and anywhere in between. So at the first of the school year, I have